You know what's ironic? We never dream of getting in our car, closing our eyes, and somehow hoping we reach our destination. Yet, that's exactly how many of us are living. Eyes closed, on autopilot, letting life happen to us instead of intentionally steering our course. Hey there, fellow travelers, and welcome back to Get In, You Are Driving, where we explore what it means to take on life's journey. I'm your host, Maria, and today we are on our fourth episode of the Driver's Ed series, where we are laying down the foundational principles that are going to help you navigate through your life. So, in our first three episodes, the first one we understood the importance of getting in the driver's seat, the why. The second one was about seeking the truth and how important that is in our life. The third one was all about who you are and how that is so much more important than what you do. That leaves us with today. And today we're going to talk about something that's absolutely crucial for your journey, which is how to live an intentional life. Again, I think we spend so much time mastering the technical aspects of life, getting that degree, learning our job skills, managing our money, keeping up with social media, cook, we exercise, we maintain our relationships. But just like learning to drive isn't just about the mechanics, life is not just about going through the motions. Think about it. We learn to meal prep, but do we think about how our food choices might align with our values? We chase careers, but do we pause to consider if they're fulfilling us? We work overtime for that promotion. Have we asked ourselves, is that really where I want to go? Here's something we need to talk about. In today's world, your attention is literally currency. Every notification, every scroll, every trending topic are all designed to capture your focus, to pull you away from what truly matters. Remember, social media platforms are not free. You're paying with your attention, your time, and your mental energy. I'm going to say that again. Social media platforms are not free. You're paying with your attention, your time, and your energy. These companies have entire teams of people whose job is literally to keep you scrolling, to keep you engaged. And maybe we could even argue to keep you from being intentional with your time. Now, I don't just want to go and blame them, but it's not just social media, it's the constant news cycle, it's the endless entertainment options, it's the pressure to always be in the know, it's the pressure to always be social. So, what I want you to realize is that we are being pulled in 1,000 different directions, and each one is screaming for our attention. Here is the truth. Attention is a finite resource. Just like your time, just like your energy, you only have so much to give. The question becomes, are you choosing where your attention goes, or are you letting others choose for you? Are you consciously deciding what deserves your focus and attention? Or are you just responding to whatever's loudest in the moment? The most important skill isn't just doing things right. It's doing the right things for you. Choosing where your precious attention goes. That's what intentional living is all about. Because after all, the most precious resources in life are time and energy, and we need to know how we are using those two things. All right, so I want to share something personal with you because a lot of this podcast is going to be based off of my personal experiences and how that has helped me grow. But like I always say, do not just take what I say at face value and think about it for you. So, all right, I really want to talk about living an intentional life because intention is my favorite word, honestly, and really it should be my middle name. So, all right, my mom loves telling this story about me. And the story is that I would literally cry if I felt that things were not done in a certain time frame. If I wanted to finish something by 11 a.m. and it was like 11:15, I would freak out. If there was something I just hated as a little girl, I hated wasting my time. I mean, truly, like so many tears. Now, I was probably not very good at regulating my emotions then. But what's funny is that that little girl is still very much so a part of who I am today because I still absolutely hate wasting time. Like it genuinely frustrates me. I remember this really started to kick in like so much when I started going to college. At least in the States, I cannot speak for other countries. A lot of times when you go to college, you're given a counselor, or no, is that what they're called? Yeah, like you're given like a counselor and those people that help you like with your hours and stuff. And I'll never forget how when I went in there, it was my very first year, she was like, "Okay, so I think you should take these 3 classes." So again, as it works in the States, you have to have a certain amount of credit hours. Anybody that's gone here knows that. My credit hours for my school were 120. And you have to make sure that each semester you're getting those credit hours in so that by the time the end of your 4 years comes up, you've graduated. Well, she suggested to me that I should only take 3 credit hours. No, 3 classes, which would have added to 9 credit hours. And I needed to do 15 credit hours if I wanted to graduate on time in 4 years. So I remember catching her and being like, "What do you mean you're only telling me to take 3 classes? Like, that's only 9 credit hours. And I just did the math in my head and I know that I'm going to need 15." And she was like, "Well, we just want you to take your time and not rush things and da 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 da." And I didn't say this directly to her, but I was thinking, this woman wants me to waste an extra almost year, maybe year and a half of my life by taking classes slowly. And so, like, I listened to what she had to say, but I packed up my stuff and I thought to myself, absolutely not. I want to be graduated in 4 years because if I don't graduate in 4 years, that is money, that is time, and that is energy. So, what I really learned about the moment of being in that counselor's office was seeing how passive she was about my future. But it was also a very good lesson of my future is in my own hands and I need to be intentional with my own time. Because essentially, I realized no one's coming to save me. No one's going to manage things for me. Nobody's going to be on top of what my specific needs are. And really, ultimately, what it showed me is like, all right, I'm an adult now. I need to take control for my life. I need to take responsibility. I need to take accountability because, yeah, I could have just listened to what she said and not thought about it. But something in me was questioning that and realizing, like, no, I'm really glad that I thought about this. So again, then and there, I really realized I am in control of my life. I need to make my decisions. I need to be intentional. And I tracked every single credit hour. And every time I went to a guidance counselor after that, I was making sure that they were giving me the advice that I wanted and needed so that I could make sure ultimately I was going to be graduating in 4 years because I realized that this was going to be my responsibility. So, again, the most important lesson that I learned there very early on was that if I wanted to get where I needed to go, I had to be the one steering my own ship. I had to be the one driving my own car. I said this a little bit in the intro, but I really want to touch on this again because I've heard a lot of people talk about this and I remember just loving hearing it. And what it is your time and your energy are your most precious resources, and they are things that you are not getting back. So don't wait around for others to tell you how to spend them. Don't let someone else's standards, pace, or become your own limitations in life. Only you really know what you're truly capable of, what you can do, and only you can take charge of making that happen in your life. Because again, you've probably heard this, but no one's coming to save you. No one is going to care about the things that affect you the way they affect you. It is up to you. I'm not saying no one's going to help you along the way, but nobody can take all the responsibility and accountability that you take. So be intentional with your time and your energy because the example I gave is just one small example of how you can be intentional in your life. And mine was my first step with my academic career. And then after that, it continued being with my professional career and so forth. All right, all right, all right. So hopefully I got your attention about intention. Got your attention. I said attention. Attention, intention. Blah, blah, blah. Hopefully I got your attention about intention. And as always, I love to give practical steps and make this practical and applicable because if it's not applicable and you don't make the changes, why are you listening to me? Honestly, like just tap off. Okay, maybe not, but you know what I mean. So before I get into how to, I think, live intentionally, I want to talk about the history of New Year's resolutions because I dug into this and I found it fascinating. Um, yeah, it might not be fascinating to you, but okay. So, did you know that humans have been setting intentions and trying to improve themselves for over 4,000 years? Insane. It's like we have to do this, right? Like look, it's in our DNA. And the ancient okay, so New Year's resolutions, that's weren't what they were called then, obviously. But actually, this started with the ancient Babylonians who had festivals dedicated to new beginnings. And then the Romans had their god Janus looking both to the past and the future. But this is what I found incredibly powerful about the history. Now, I researched all this and I paraphrase it into my own notes. So I may need to read because obviously I can't speak super quickly about this. But okay, in the West, I think everybody knows what I'm referred to when I say the West. We collectively believe in this idea that we can improve, that we can grow, that we can become more than we are right now. Now, maybe I'm being a total like nerd about this, but that is so cool. That is so beautiful. And to me, that speaks so much about who we are, that collectively, as a society, we believe in going further in our life, aiming for something and doing better. Amazing, amazing. I'm not going to rant too much about that. I think that's so cool. But we share this fundamental belief that change is possible and that growth is natural and that we can do it and that we have the power to shape our futures. I know that for me, every time I see someone transform their life, every time I hear a story of someone who stuck with their goals and made it happen, it's just such a cool reminder of how capable I am and how capable you are. And to think that when I was researching this belief, it goes back to thousands of years ago in history. I mean, it's like woven into the fabric of society. Again, I'm just not going to stop geeking out about that. But here's the thing that really gets me excited. And I know this might sound cliche, but I really don't care because I think it's fundamentally true. You don't need to wait for New Year's. You don't need to wait for January. You don't need to wait for Monday. You don't need to wait for your birthday. You can start living intentionally today. The power is available to you right now in every single moment. I really do believe in the power of a new day. And I really think every day you get the new chance to adjust your life and decide for yourself, I don't want to be that person anymore. I'm going to be somebody different today. You can do that in 5 minutes. Like it's not even the day. And ultimately, you always have the power to write a new story in your life. Your past habits, your past persona, it can all go away because that's your identity isn't who you were yesterday. It's not even who you were an hour ago. Who you were yesterday doesn't have to be who you are today. And I really just want to encourage you before we get into how to set goals and live intentionally that you have the power to choose differently with every single breath you take and with every single new day. Okay, so I want to get into the practical things of how to set goals, how to live intentionally. This is personally what I want to do. So find what works for you, but this is a roadmap if you need one. So let's break down what intentional living means and how you can implement it in your life. You can think of it kind of like planning a road trip. You wouldn't just jump in your car and start driving randomly, right? Like you would probably know where you're going to stop, where you're going to spend the night, maybe where you want to eat. You know where you are headed. And I want you to know where you are headed in your life as well. Now, maybe some could argue, well, a road trip spontaneity is beautiful. Yes, spontaneity is beautiful, and sometimes that happens in life. But for the big journey, you do need some sort of official navigation. All right, so the foundation of intentional living, I think, starts with self reflection. And I want you to consider these three very powerful questions. One, why do I spend time with the specific people I spend time with in my life? Two, are my daily actions aligned with where I want to go? Three, what am I currently doing on autopilot that deserves more intention? Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but I don't want to set goals. Like, I'm too busy to live intentionally. Like, I can't do that. I get it. Everyone's busy, but life does come at you fast. That's very, very true. And sometimes it feels like you're just trying to keep the car on the road. But this is exactly why I think intentional living becomes so crucial. Because it's in these moments where you think, well, I'm too busy. I don't have time to do this, where life starts taking control of you and you not taking control of life. So, let me share with you a framework that I call Reflect for Intentional Living. And I want to say that I got most of this from Grace Beverly. I really like the way she plans all her years. She's very great with goals. I buy her daily planner each year. Her podcast is Working Hard, Hardly Working. So if you're interested, look into that. But let's go into this framework and how it's going to help you. All right, so one, set clear destinations. These are your initial goals. For example, don't just say, I want to be healthier. That's vague. Instead, say, I want to cook at home 4 nights a week, or I want to establish a consistent morning routine that energizes me. These need to be specific. Two, review your current location. Get brutally honest about where you are in your life right now with yourself. Because, for example, I'll use myself. I was like, I don't have time to read books. Like, I don't have time. But what I wasn't realizing and what I didn't admit until I looked into it was I was spending 2 hours plus a day scrolling on social media. You need to know your starting point to plan your route. All right, next, evaluate your patterns. Look at what's working and what isn't for you. Maybe you've noticed that you're more productive in the morning, but you're wasting time hitting snooze. Maybe you've noticed you are more productive in the middle of the day. Everybody's going to be really different with this. Whatever it may be, right? All right, four, focus on what truly matters. Identify your core values. This is going to look really different. This is why I always tell you don't just listen to me and take what I say to face value or anyone, because everybody is so different in what they want. So an example of this could be maybe you really value learning, but you spend several hours a day on Netflix instead of learning. So sometimes what we say we value doesn't match what we do. So make sure what you say matches what you do. All right, the fifth part of the Reflect framework, learn from your experiences. Think about this as your personal GPS recalculating. For example, learning from your experience, a small one for me was I was trying to work out in the mornings. I was just trying to force it to happen because that just seemed like what all the billionaires were doing, the perfect morning routine. I hate working out when I get up. I hate it. And I learned that the best thing for me to do was work out in the middle of the day. Thankfully, I have a very flexible schedule, so I'm able to do that. But I really learned from the experience of working out in the morning and just never giving it my best that, okay, I need to go in the afternoon. So, all right, learning from your experiences. Now, engaging with your goals daily, because goals are all those small micro habits that get us to the destination and where we want to go. This is keeping your hands on the wheel. This could be as simple as having a morning check-in with yourself, having a to-do list that you have set up and been like, all right, I got every single thing done. This is why I like to have a planner. I know people think planners are so frivolous. I love them. I thrive because every single day is a to-do for me, but I know that not everybody operates in that way. So figure out what works for you. All right. And then lastly, from the reflect framework, change what isn't working for you. Be willing to take detours, right? Like if you've been trying to meditate for 20 minutes and let's say you're getting super frustrated, maybe meditate for 5. Then when you nail the 5 minutes, then go to 10. And then maybe you'll work your way up to 20. There's really no shame in adjusting your approach, especially when you have goals, because maybe you made those two goals too big. Maybe you made them too small. You just have to be really honest with yourself. And then honestly, you never know what life is going to throw you either. So things always have to be adjusted and relooked at. Okay, so we just went over the Reflect framework, and this is the Reflect framework for intentional living. And this is what I think you need to do before you go straight into goal setting. Now I'm going to go into goal setting and making your goals SMART. You've probably heard this acronym, especially if you went to school, but SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, timely, and realistic. That's the R. So you want to make sure you're doing that for each of your goals. Now, I do understand that not everybody writes down goals and likes to do that. But honestly, if you want to be intentional with your life, if you really do want to accomplish things, I really think it's one of the best ways to do that. Because again, you can't just get in your car and not know where you're going. We never do that in real life. We always know exactly where we're going. And I really think it should be the same in your life. So I'm going to use the framework again from Grace Beverly. Really love her. I'm actually going to link her video in the description if you want to go watch it. But she sets up her goals into 6 areas. I also set mine up into 6 areas, but then I saw hers and liked her better. So these are the key areas: personal development, relationships, finances, career, mindset, and health. I will list those out so you can see them. You can do what you want, but I personally, again, really like these, but categorize them however you want. Now, here's where it really gets powerful. For each category, we're going to do what's called making them SMART, which is what I said. We're going to make them specific, measurable, achievable. Sorry, relevant was the R, and time bound. If you are already starting to feel overwhelmed, this is where ChatGPT, my friend, is where you need to go because it will help you do this. You can write out your goals and then, hey, ChatGPT, make my goals SMART. So easy. So again, we talked about what that is. Again, instead of saying I want to be healthier, you want to say I want to work out 4 times a week for the next 3 months, right? That's making them specific. And you could even get more specific than that. But for the sake of time, let's keep on rolling. Now, here's what I do differently, and I can't stress how much this has changed the game for me. Under each category of goals, I also write a paragraph about why I want these goals because I really like the saying that almost any how is possible with a why. I think that's how it goes. But again, when you know why you're doing something, it makes it all more the motivating. Because again, when you really are strong enough to do this, you're going to figure out how. Like if you want something enough, you'll figure it out. You'll put in the hard work. And yeah, your why is what gets you out of bed in the morning and what is there when your motivation is gone. Because I think motivation is a myth and it's only there sometimes. So let me give you a very quick example for each category. And I'm going to read these so we can move on pretty quickly here. But personal development, let's say this is the category we're looking at. Let's say your goal is read 12 books this year in my field. Why? Because I want to be the kind of person who never stops learning and growing. Relationships, the goal is have a meaningful one-on-one conversation with each close friend monthly. Why? Because deep connections are what make life rich and meaningful. Finances, save 20% of each paycheck and put it in my Roth IRA. Why? Because I want to build a foundation that gives me freedom to make choices in the future. Career goal. I want to launch my podcast and release 24 episodes this year. Why? Because I feel I have a message that could help others find their way. Mindset. I want to practice gratitude journaling for 5 minutes every morning. Why? Because I want to train my brain to see opportunities instead of obstacles. And the last one is, let's say, health. I want to cook at home 5 nights a week. Why? Because I want to feel energized and strong in my body. Now, my goals were pretty specific, but I'm going to be honest, they could have been much more specific, but I didn't go into that much detail with the SMART thing because I just wanted you to give you a gist of the idea. Another game changer I personally think is creating a vision board. I thought this was such a waste of time, but I actually really enjoyed looking at my vision board from 2024 because some of the things that were in my goals, some of the things that were in my vision board were not in my goals. And I was like, oh my gosh, I actually did this on my vision board. So it just really helps to be able to visualize what you see. This is why we talk about having a vision for the future, right? Like we want to imagine that we're there. We're getting to where we want to go. Like I just can't say how important that is. So jump on Pinterest and do that. I know the girls love that. I don't know so much about the men, but I just think that'll really help you because there's nothing like being able to look back at your goals and realizing like maybe you're not going to accomplish everything, but I looked back at my 2024 goals and I actually accomplished quite a bit. So I want to leave you with this. Every time you set a goal and achieve it, no matter how small, you are building trust with yourself. So I want to say that again. Every single time you set a goal and work on it and achieve it, you are creating trust within yourself. You're proving to yourself that what you say and what you want, you actually do. And I really believe that this builds something called confidence within us that is so, so priceless. And I really think that it becomes a beautiful cycle of setting a goal, achieving it, and trusting ourselves more and more as time goes on. And then we set bigger goals. And then ultimately, we're going to realize that we're so capable of big things that we never even thought were possible. So, again, if this seems daunting to you, don't let it be. Start out super, super small. Don't despise small beginnings. Even if your goals are just monthly oriented, that's wonderful. But just start and realize and remember that your life is so worth paying attention to. You simply need to be intentional and know where it is that you want to go. All right, so before we finish, I do want to acknowledge some challenges and roadblocks that are gonna happen to you when you do want to start living more intentionally, because I know I'm all about like, do it, do it, do it. But I also want to acknowledge that it's very difficult, especially if we have had a bad habit with this and haven't been doing this. It's difficult to change, but it's possible. And I believe in you. So I want to highlight the three things that I think really trip people up with intentional living. The first thing is people are on autopilot. Um, we fall into this sometimes. I have fallen into this, and there is autopilot. And I think most people know what I am saying when I say this. And this essentially means that you've allowed life to put you in the passenger seat and something else is driving the driver's seat, and we don't want to be there. We want to make sure that we are happening to life and life is not happening to us. Secondly, the people around us. This is such a huge one because the truth is, you really are who you hang out with. I really believe that. And if everybody around you is very apathetic, they don't really care where they're going, let's be honest, it's just not going to encourage you to be more intentional with your life. And it's also going to make you do the comparison of, well, they're not doing anything. Well, they're not worried. Why should I be? And I think there's a saying that goes, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, again, if those people are drifting away and not being intentional, they could take them with you. And I promise there are people who are so driven and who are so intentional out there. You will find them. Do not allow the people around you to inadvertently be making decisions for you. So, yeah, be really wary of that. The comfort zone trap. I think everybody knows what I mean here with comfort zone. It's so easy to be comfortable with our patterns, with our jobs, with our relationships, with what we do every day. But a lot of the things that we're comfortable about are not serving us. And you need to push through your discomfort. For me, my rule of thumb is when I'm too comfortable, that means I need to change something. I need to do something differently because, again, as soon as I'm just feeling that comfort, that probably means I've stopped growing. So, the key to breaking through these roadblocks is, again, regular check ins with yourself, keeping up with your car, doing the maintenance. I really recommend starting with just 5 minutes a day and asking yourself these questions. Am I moving in the direction that I want to go? Did my actions today align with my values and with who I want to become? What is one thing I could do more intentionally tomorrow? Am I letting Am I letting other people's lack of direction affect my journey? And what's one small step outside my comfort zone I can take tomorrow? So I will put these up here, but essentially it really comes down to just challenging yourself, just checking in with yourself. I'm not going to say it has to be every day, but at least monthly of like, am I going to where I want to go? Because remember, Awareness is the first step to change. When you notice yourself falling into these traps, whether it's autopilot, whether it's the people around you, whether it's you sensing that you're in your own comfort zone, honestly, that's actually such a win because that's you realizing like, oh, I need to change something. Like, oh, I'm aware of this. So many of us, including myself sometimes, walk around so unaware of what we're doing, and that is such a trap, and we have to be so weary of it. So, as we wrap up today's episode, I want to share something really powerful that I heard Cody Sanchez say. And she said, choose your hard. Because here's what that means everything in life is hard in its own way. Being stuck in a job you hate, that's hard. Building a career you love, that's hard too. Living paycheck to paycheck, that's really hard. Building financial freedom, that's also really hard. Feeling unfulfilled, super hard. Making changes to find fulfillment, you guessed it, hard. And I just really love that because it's so true. Choose what is hard. Everything's going to be hard. So choose to where you want to go. Because the beautiful thing is, if everything's going to be hard anyway, why not choose the kind of hard that leads you to somewhere you want to go, somewhere amazing? Why not choose the hard that brings you closer to your dreams, what makes you the best version of yourself? All right, so I just want to leave you with a very small challenge this week, which is write one goal out. Pick one of those 6 categories we talked about and write one goal out and make it extremely smart. Use ChatGPT to help you. And if that's where you begin, oh my gosh, that's amazing. That's better than nothing. Don't despise small beginnings, but again, pick one category, pick one goal, and make it smart, and then go from there because that's going to get the wheels turning. And again, the most important part is that you're here, that you're aware, that you want to be more intentional, because this is what I've learned for myself is that you have everything it takes to live an intentional life. You really do. This is why I named my podcast this. You are the driver. That is so true. That is never going away. And I never, ever, ever want you to forget it. It's time for you to build confidence within yourself because I really think we're all so much more capable of. I really can say that I say all this because I've applied it in my life. I've made very small incremental changes that meant nothing, that were so small but have gotten me to where I wanted to go. And if I can do it, you can do it. And again, at the end of the day, I just always want you to remember that you are the one driving. You just have to start the engine and have the courage to get in your car day after day. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. Thank you for listening. Next week, we are going to finish off the Driver's Ed series. I am so excited. Stay tuned. Be the first to remember. Be the first to be there. And until then, remember that again, you are the one driving, so make every single mile count.